Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Fed Up, your no BS nutrition podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Marie, certified personal trainer and nutrition specialist, working with clients since 2014. After swimming up diet culture's bullshit stream for so many years, I am fed the absolute up with how miserable it's making people feel when we are supposed to be getting healthier. This podcast is here to help you gain your sanity back so you can stop yo-yoing once and for all and finally learn how to trust yourself so you can enjoy food again without fear or shame while still getting to your health goals. My aim is to teach you how to detect the BS in not just the food and diet industries, but in all realms of life, because I know that, like me, we are all just a little fed up. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to episode 47, officially season 2 of the Fed Up, Your No BS Nutrition podcast, because starting afresh in 2026, I just felt like season 2 was appropriate, and I was hoping to get to 50 episodes and make it like nice and even, but whatever. You know, we're just gonna be okay with B- work sometimes, and that is honestly going to be a theme over the next month, if you haven't even noticed over this whole series, is we're not into extremes, right? And so launching into our New Year's resolution series, we are doing 2 episodes a week for January. So you'll get 8 whole episodes in regards to the New Year's resolution series. So that being said, today I want to talk about why New Year's resolutions do not work. Are they a lie? And really why I hate the new year, new you, and the craze that I've seen over the past decade of being a personal trainer, but also just like if you're a human in this world, you probably have experienced this personally, or you know somebody, you've watched it happen, or at least you've heard of the mumbo jumbo, right? Maybe you just swear off New Year's resolutions and you're like, I never do them. If I want to set a goal, I set a goal. It doesn't matter. Great. This series might be for you anyway, because this is important regardless of what type of goal or when you are going to be, approaching the season where you want to set your mind to something and accomplish it. So whether or not you do actual quote unquote New Year's resolutions, in reality, this is like a goal setting and a goal accomplishing series, if that makes sense. So first order of business, let's talk about the new year, new me bogus, because first things first, December, January, February is wintertime. I was a privileged little Californian who did not understand winter. And then I moved to Montana and I was like, oh, that's what we mean by seasons. It is so drastically different from spring, summer to fall, winter. And especially starting the new year is great because it's oh my gosh, January 1st. In general, it's a new year. That dopamine release of being able to start fresh. It's the same thing that Monday does, or just starting over. I am the queen of wanting to start things over. It might be my little ADHD, I don't know, but even with art projects, I will jump headfirst into an art project, maybe go too quickly, make a lot of mistakes, and just not be happy with the product, and then I'll just start over, and that is really satisfying to me. I think that's why I became a cake decorator, and I like doing art on edible cake and cupcakes, because then you just get to eat it and start over the next day, right? It's not permanent. I hate art on a canvas. It freaks me out because it's going to be there forever. And so sometimes when I have a final product of art, because I do end up painting and drawing and stuff, it's because I started over 3 or 4 times. So there's this dopamine release that happens in the very beginning stages of starting something. And sometimes that happens before you even actually start it. It's when you're thinking about starting it, you make a plan, or you purchase something, or you make a list, or whatever it may be. You do that first thing and then you're like, sweet, I did it. And there's also this phenomenon that happens if you tell people your goals without an accountability system. If you just are sharing, this is what I'm going to do, people might think that actually helps. But when you do that, you again are releasing the dopamine pre-action, and sometimes you end up less likely to accomplish your goals. So This is not a you problem. This is usually just a human problem, right? Like, let's normalize it. It's really hard and it's a skill to actually like be able to set goals. And it doesn't seem like it is until maybe at the end of the series, you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize there was 8 episodes about setting goals and accomplishing goals. So they estimate that only about 25% of people stick to their New Year's resolutions past January. Less than 10% ever achieve their goal. They say that about 77 to like 85% of, people that obviously this is so varied, like it's just different studies, whatever. I just grabbed like a generic study here, or like survey. I shouldn't even say study. It's a survey. So 77% of people keep their resolution for 1 week. So we all make it about a week. And then about 88% fail before the end of January. So they nicknamed January 19th as quitting day. So it's not just you. It's the majority of people. And I don't think it's because we are like lazy sons of bitches. I think it's more so that we overestimate what we're really like capable of and where we are in the behavioral change model. So you end up being like, yes, I'm going to go work out 5 days a week. But like, if you've never like haven't been working out in the past couple weeks or months or ever, you don't have a gym membership, you don't have like good fitting clothes. Like, I'm not saying you need to go buy a new outfit, but like sometimes it is nice to have an outfit that you feel good in or new shoes that aren't falling apart to go and start your workout program. So there are these like prerequisites sometimes as you build momentum, but then actually going to work out is like a whole other battle. And then keeping that up past a month is even harder. So again, it's not you, but 3 reasons I find most people fail is number 1, unrealistic goals and expectations, right? You want to work out 5 days a week and it's not going to happen. You're trying to eat 200 grams of protein, which right now, like you're not even eating 3 meals a day. So you have these goals that don't really meet you where you are. And there's a sweet spot when you give yourself enough challenge that it's like rewarding because you also know you can accomplish it and then you feel proud. When you set yourself up for these like really high expectations and then you don't meet them, you feel like an utter failure. And motivation is built because you prove to yourself that you can do that thing. And then you build the dopamine that requires like the repetitive behavior, right? That's like what dopamine's responsible for is like, yeah, that felt good, do it again. So a lot of times we're relying on motivation to get us off the couch when in reality, getting off the couch is how you build motivation. And it's so hard, especially if you deal with mental illness, depression. During the wintertime, like the season says to sleep and to eat and to hibernate. So New Year's isn't always the best time to like start something new, especially the stress of the holidays. And then you feel guilty because we just like all overindulged. And you feel this like fight internally because of how you want to live as an animal during the dark, cold season, especially if you live anywhere other than like the equator. And then you have like but I should be doing all these healthy habits, or I should be doing all these things, to self-improve. And in reality, like, you don't have to self-improve. So number 2, I want to talk about outcome goals versus process goals or learning goals. So again, you don't have to like self-improve 180 degrees, change your life. You don't have to burn the house down in order to just like make a few renovations or paint a wall, so to speak, right? So learning how to differentiate between a process goal, like learning, setting yourself up, the first steps, gathering information, and then like the actions that might include researching the best gyms, maybe signing up for the gym, maybe like watching a few YouTube videos and just like practicing the movements in your living room before you go to the gym, right? And then you have your outcome goal that like as you learn how to do this and as you have to learn how to work out, learn how to cook first, to learn how to read a nutrition label, learn how to do the things. And then you can actually set a goal for yourself that results from that behavior. So in regards to maybe losing weight, your outcome goal is to lose 20 pounds. But what do you have to actually do to get there? Well, you probably need to start moving more and working out more, and you should probably fix up your nutrition a little bit. You should probably manage your stress a little bit. You should probably, there's all these different things that you can look at, being in a calorie deficit, taking care of yourself from the inside out, and then giving yourself, 6 months to a year to 18 months. And then maybe if you don't end up losing weight, seeking alternative measures, but like the general behaviors that are, eating well and working out might result in weight loss, but sometimes they don't, is why I say that. So if you are trying to lose 20 pounds, but you have no idea how to work out, you have no idea how to cook for yourself, you have no idea how much you're eating, you have no idea how many steps you're taking, you have no idea if you're even sleeping more than 3 hours a night, like there are these other factors, because health in general, diseases, chronic illnesses, pain, short, acute things like stress, minor stress, and then like having to lose weight or trying to gain muscle or whatever it is, like all these seasons of our life in regards to health, there is so many factors in your individual life, in your genetics, in your upbringing, in how your mother was when she was pregnant with you. Like there are so many factors here that are outside of your control. We call them social determinants of health. It's also like your environment, how close you are to a gym, how well your job pays, like all of these other factors that are not necessarily just like your behavior driven. So when you're coming up with a New Year's resolution, it doesn't always have to be this like, oh, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to save this amount of money, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do like those outcome goals. It can be like, okay, well, if I'm going to save money, where's my biggest expense here? And then it's learning how to budget, right? It's learning how to not impulse shop. It's learning how to eat more at home and optimize your grocery list, both in nutrition and spending, right? Like there are all these other quote unquote learning goals and process goals that are going to lead to the outcome goal. So you kind of have to have both. And that's really what we'll look at during this series too, is like when we do the episode on SMART goals, it sounds a little cliche, especially if you have done it before. And when we set up a SMART goal, really what we're doing is we're taking an outcome goal and we're breaking it down into steps of how we're going to actually achieve it. If you want to save $1,000, but you don't have $1,000 to just throw into your savings account, right? Well, like, where are you going to start? Can you save $10 a week? Can you save $10 a month? Can you save $100 a month? Can you save $250 a month? Like, right? You break it down into monthly or weekly. And then maybe you have to look and say, okay, well, I'm going to cancel this subscription. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Or I'm going to pay off my car loan. And then I have this extra money that I can then put into my Roth IRA, right? Like you have to figure out where the money is going to budge and how your habits are going to reflect somebody who saves $1,000, right? So that's what we're going to be doing this series. And you have to address your readiness level. Number 3, the reason why people do not meet their goals is because they have poor actual readiness. So again, they might have made a list, they might have joined a gym, bought themselves some new tennis shoes, whatever. But if they're not actually ready to get in their car after work and drive themselves to the gimnasio and work out for 45 minutes and then drive home and make themselves like a chicken and rice and veggie dinner, if they're not ready to do that tomorrow, they're probably not really ready. So you have to be honest with yourself. And I say they because, again, I'm a coach, so I sound like maybe I'm talking to third person versus second person here when I'm talking to you, my fellow listeners. Thank you so much for being here. But anyway, so when we have the intentions, that's great. That's the first step, right? But in the behavioral stages that we look at for change, it starts with pre-contemplation when you're not even thinking about it, right? It's not even on your radar. And then you have contemplation. You're thinking about it. You want to get in shape. And then you have your action phase, which means you might like take action. Maybe you went and worked out once, or maybe you went and like joined a gym. That's probably still contemplation, but you then go to the gym and you actually get on the treadmill, right? Like you've taken action to work out this week, which is great. After about 6 months of doing that, taking action, now you're in like a maintenance phase, right? So they kind of move through how ready are you to actually take action and then keep that action up? And you might stay in that pre-contemplation and action phase for a long time before you get to maintenance, meaning you take action, you take a class here and there, you go to the gym here and there, you do a few push-ups in your living room here and there, you eat some healthy meals here and there, but maybe you're just not consistent. So once you get consistent, that's when we're more into the maintenance phase. But you have to be like realistic with where you actually are. And the way that we actually build momentum is to do the little things that almost seem too easy, but that's how you know you're on the right track. So if you know that you can wake up in the morning and drink a glass of water before you drink your coffee because you're waiting for your coffee to brew, right? We do this thing called habit stacking or habit pairing. So if you want to read more or listen to more audiobooks, then and walk more, and you really like listening to audiobooks, but say normally you just listen when you're going to sleep or hanging out or whatever, then you pair your audio books with your walk, or you pair TV with your walking pad, or you pair, social time because you have a buddy that you're going to go to the gym with, and then you guys are going to go get a coffee or whatever. You can kind of pair these little mini rewards so that you are actually doing the habit, which we're going to talk about again, in this kind of series. I'm giving you kind of an overview, and we'll learn that the key is planning here. The key is really talking yourself down, making yourself meet you where you are with these little steps, these little goals, being realistic with how ready you actually are for those things, and then differentiating between what's the outcome, but what do I have to do in order to get there? And you gotta, again, talk yourself down. You are going to want to go balls to the wall this upcoming week and month. And how do we actually do something past January? The key is you want to look at maybe seasons, or again, where you are now is you might be able to just buy yourself some new gym shoes, but that doesn't mean you're ready to go work out. So don't equate the same as the same, right? But that doesn't mean each one isn't important in the process to going to your goal. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to stop beating that dead horse. I hope that this helps kind of launch us into this new series. I hope it helps and that you can kind of get a good taste for my coaching style too. This is kind of how I set people up for how are we going to actually achieve the goals that you tell me as your coach, as your trainer, that you want to achieve. And yes, maybe my job is to actually develop the plan to help you get there. But my job in doing that is helping you set a goal and then helping you or helping me, you help me help you to actually give you a plan that you are able to do. And a lot of coaches miss that mark, and a lot of clients actually too think that their plan needs to be super all intensive, and then they're unable to actually accomplish anything because the trainer didn't meet them where they were. And sometimes that client is ready to hit the ground running, other times not. And we've got to start with these little baby steps. Or a lot of times there's a month or two where it's mostly a mindset shift before we actually get into the nitty-gritty of the workouts and the nutrition and et cetera, right? So I hope this helps and give you some, brainstorming for how we are going to be talking about New Year's resolutions this month. And next episode on Friday, so this one is released on Tuesday. I'll release Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll talk about how to actually choose your resolution for success based on your readiness level that we just talked about, your values, and your capacity. And then we'll talk about a little bit of the strategy with actual, again, choosing your goals so that it's not just, well, I want to lose weight. And then you end up oh, it's November and I didn't even do anything to help myself there. So we'll break down into how you actually choose your goal. And then next week, we'll talk about different ways to actually set up your resolutions so that it's not necessarily one resolution you have to do 365 days a year or 12 months out of the year. So I kind of break it up into different methods, whether it's monthly or seasonally, or in a term of you choose these different areas to focus on in your life, like a social versus fitness versus finance versus whatever, right? So I break down you don't just have to set goals one way, and kind of different ways to compartmentalize throughout the year so that by the end of the year, you've made movement in a lot of different areas of your life. because that's cool. Growth is cool. That's what we want to do, rather than setting yourself up for failure with a big giant goal, not having a plan or any strategy to get you there. And then by March, feel like a failure. And then by August, you're like, oh my God, where did the year go? And I'm even farther behind on my goals. And then next thing you know, we're old and we die. Okay, that's dramatic, but all right. Hope that helps. Love you all. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to talking with you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for being here, friends. If you enjoyed this episode, please screenshot and tag me over on Instagram or leave a 5-star review wherever you are listening from. Your support means the world to me and only helps me get the No BS news out to more people. If you're interested in working with me in nutrition or personal training, check out my programs and courses on my website at kaylamariefitness.com and on Instagram at kaylamari_fit. See you next week.